Morning, everybody. We will start with the broadcast section that's got no embargo, followed by an embargoed section. No live tweeting during the broadcast section. Please use the microphone provided. Jamie.
Thank you, Anthony. Good morning, Ange. Hope you're well. You're always talking about wanting to see signs of progress. Generally speaking, do you think you are seeing those signs of progress? And, you know, after Sunday, even once the dust settles and you pick the bones out of that game, can you sort of see enough to think we are on the right path?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Clearly. As clear as you want it to be. 2020, definitely. 100%.
What gives you such optimism that you are?
Because of what I see. We're playing our football, we're measuring ourselves against the best. The players got real belief in what we're doing. That's all I need to see.
You mentioned after the game on Sunday how you wanted some of the players to be a bit more like Kuti. I assumed you meant that in terms of sort of the fight and desire and hunger they show. Is that a concern for you that you're not seeing enough of that?
Well, we've only got one World Cup winner in the building, so, you know, it takes a bit of time. And it's not about hunger or fight, it's just about a self-belief that Kuti has because of who he is and his journey up to now. And a lot of the others are just beginning that. But Kuti's had his painful moments in his career and he's learned to get through them and he showed the way forward on Sunday. So that's all I meant, that, you know, some of it is just growth of individuals as people, which, again, you can't fast track. So, I thought Kuti he's been great for us all year, but, you know, on Sunday he really sort of led by example.
Just one final one from me on a sort of slightly separate topic, but you'll have probably seen that Sweden have rejected VAR coming into their league, and you've always been very clear in your thoughts on VAR.
I'm moving there.
Do you think, is that right? Got a scoop there. You're going to take a job at Helsingborg.
I don't have a job, but I'm just...
Yeah, right, yeah. Do you think the ship has sailed here? Do you think it's too late to get rid of it altogether? And if it is here to stay, what specifically does need to change?
Yeah, no, it's here to stay. Absolutely, it's not going away. I'd change a hell of a lot on it, but again, I've said before that I think it's changed the game materially, which I don't think was the intention when it was brought in. And I watched the Champions League last night like everyone else did. If you hadn't have told me VAR was part of that game, I wouldn't have known. And I'm sure they had decisions to make, but it seemed to run pretty seamlessly. It just seems, like I said, I don't know, we're trying to sort of pick the bones out of every little thing that happens in a football game at the moment, whether that's refereeing or any other part. And I don't like it. I've said it before because it's changed the game. It changed the game experience. It's a different game, whether you're involved or you're not involved. So in terms of an active participant or a spectator. But hopefully they'll find the right sort of ground for it to work.
There does seem to at least be a recognition from PGMOL that it does need to be refined or be changed. If they were to reach out to Premier League managers and say, would you come and sit in a meeting room with us and tell us what you're supposed to do?
We already do that, mate. But
Yeah.
I've said before, we're not the people that they need to consult with. We're not officials. They're officials. It's about them finding out what's the best decision-making process that's not going to affect the game. It's got nothing to do with managers. I manage a football team. I can tell them how to set up a team, but you know, it's you know, and you're always at odds in those kind of meetings anyway, because the referees always feel like they've done the right thing, and we as coaches always feel aggrieved. So that's the basic case. I mean, you know, people telling me we're going to get explanation. What difference does that make? I thought we should have had a penalty on the weekend. Other people didn't think we should have had a penalty on the weekend. I wasn't still sure about Mickey van der Ven's offside, but other people say it is offside. So at the end of the day, who am I to sit in the room and tell officials how to do their job? They should know that. That is their job. As I keep saying, I wouldn't want a panel referees to be advising coaches how to manage a team.
Charlie.
Morning, Ange. In terms of your team news for tomorrow's game, how is Timo doing?
Yeah, no, not good. Unfortunately, he's sort of had a couple of issues from the game. Timo with his hamstring, obviously. So, yeah, we've only got 2.5 weeks to go, so he'll miss the rest of the season. And and Ben Davies got a calf injury out of the game, and he'll probably miss the rest of the season as well. Everyone else is okay. Skippy should be back for this game, out of the ones who've been out.
In terms of Richarlison, do you feel he's fit enough to start the game at Stamford Bridge?
Yeah, he's working back to fitness. I mean, he's missed a fair bit, so it was good to get him some game time, and whether that's tomorrow night or Sunday. Obviously, we've got 3 games this week, big games, so I'm sure Richie will play a significant part of it.
And in terms of the challenge of Chelsea tomorrow, obviously the reverse fixture, it was chaotic to say the least.
Yeah.
How do you feel your team have developed since that match, and how do you view how they might have developed since that game as well?
Yeah, like I said, for us, it's it's a constant sort of evolution of overcoming different challenges we've had since then. Fair to say, up until that point, we were in pretty good shape from a squad point of view, and we had a good rhythm of games. And since then, we've had some disruptions in many areas, and we've had to overcome those challenges. Some well, some not so well. So we've been, but for the most part, I think fairly consistently. And look, Chelsea. I mean, their recent form is very good. They've got some real talent in their group for sure, and Maurizio is an excellent manager. So, and I think irrespective of all of that, you're playing away from home, at their ground. It's a derby, London derby again, so you kind of know it's going to be a tough game irrespective.
Yeah, you mentioned it being a London derby. It is one of the London derbies that the fans really care about. Do you sense from your players that there will be an element of revenge for what happened in that game?
Oh, I don't think so. I've never bought into that revenge, because I mean that would mean that you need some sort of other stimulation other than going out there and just trying to win a game of football. And I think every week that's what you've got to do. You understand the meaning of games, particularly as a club or to our supporters. But I've always felt as footballers or managers or whoever we are, we shouldn't need extra motivation other than there's a game on and we want to win it.
Angelo, I just wondered, James Maddison was so good for you at the start of the season, and he's come back to his injury. Is he still finding he's got to find his best form again as you approach the second half in the second half of the season? Yeah,
look, it's a challenge, but I mean, I reckon just about every player in the squad I've had that question about, and I think I've been pretty consistent in my answers that we've had a very disruptive season. He's another one that's had disruption. Like the first 10 games, he played every game. He was going really well, and then obviously picked up the injury, missed a lot of football, kind of come back. But at the same time, we've had challenges as a team where we haven't had real fluency in terms of cohesion, in terms of games, in terms of starting lineups. Just had to battle through that, like a lot of them. But that's part of the challenge. That's where, for us, as I keep saying, the fact that things haven't gone smoothly this year means you feel a bit of pain, but I think in the long term you create a stronger and more resilient group, and Matters is one of those guys. He's just got to fight his way out of it.
Ian.
Hi, Ange, how are you?
I'm good, mate.
You mentioned earlier, 100% you've made progress. Is that seen by the fact that you're going to be finishing in a European place?
No, it's because of what I'm seeing every day and the football we're playing and the development of our players, and like I said, their belief in what we're trying to do. They're far more important to me than what position we are.
Sunday, set pieces were, I think, fair to say, the undoing during the game against Arsenal. Has that become a worry over the last few weeks, over the season, and something you'll be looking to address in the summer transfer window?
In the summer transfer window,
how you defend set pieces and maybe getting players in who can...
I think I've answered this question, and I don't think it satisfies people, but no, I don't see it as an issue. It's something we work on along with everything else in our game. There are far more important things we need to concentrate on at the moment in terms of the team we're building, but I think people want to believe that football is, and it can be, very prescriptive. You got an illness, here's the tablet, and you feel better. But I've never believed that. I've always been about trying to create an environment, style of football, and a squad that can win things. And I've never done it through a prescriptive manner, and I certainly won't be doing it now.
I guess your answer to that question kind of answers my next question as well.
That's good, so you don't have to ask it.
No, I do. I still need to ask it because otherwise my boss will say, "Why didn't you ask him the question?"
Go for it.
Only once in this calendar year have you led at half time in a game. 8 out of 15 you've been behind.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for a slow start, or maybe not quite the fast start that you would like Spurs to have, or the first half displays?
Yeah, again, I think, to be fair, I've had the whole gambit of it this year. If I was playing bingo, I would have called it a few weeks ago. We've conceded early, scored early, conceded late, scored late, had great starts, poor starts, set pieces good, set pieces bad, some good football. It's part of where we're at. But within that, I'll make it sound as if it's been a real struggle. I don't feel it's been a real struggle. I think I've still seen, as I said before, real belief in this group. Even on Sunday, at 3-0 down half time, the game could have gone very easily a different way, but it didn't. And I love the spirit this group shows in the face of adversity, and all these things that people see as issues for us right now are not at the top of my list. At the top of my list is, like I said, creating an environment, a football team, and a style of football that will win us things, and we're on the way to doing that.
Ali.
Hi, Ange. Obviously, you lost your two natural left backs now. Mickey van der Ven has previously occasionally played as a left back. Has there been any temptation to play him there, or do you not want to lose his pace from the middle?
No, and it's not the first time this year we've been challenged in that way. We've lost wingers more than one at once. We've lost central defenders more than one at once. It's just the way it goes, strikers. So we'll deal with that. It's unfortunate for Benny, who, again, he's another one who, and it's understandable because it's not just we didn't have a game for 2 weeks. He hadn't played the start of the game for ages because we just haven't had the fixtures where we can rotate the squad, keep everyone in good shape. And again, we've thrown him in after not playing for quite a while. It's almost inevitable that he'll pick up an injury. So disappointed for him because I think he was looking at, he finally gets his opportunity over the next course of games, and it doesn't work out. But we'll find a solution for that position as we have before.
Obviously, Timo missing the rest of the season. He's a player on loan. How do you I suppose you have to now judge his impact over the time he's had, and also your thoughts of maybe him being a permanent player in the future?
Yeah, no, it's stuff for another day. I've got a game tomorrow, and that's where my focus is.
Well, how about just judging his time and how you felt his impact?
Again, I'm not making assessments on anybody right now because I've got 24 hours to prepare for an important game, and I'm focused on what's important right now.
Okay, back to Christian Romero then. Painful moments you spoke. Obviously, one came against Chelsea. How impressed have you been with the improvement in his discipline since that day?
Yeah, look, he's definitely. But again, upon reflection, when you look at that challenge he got sent off for, I've seen at least half a dozen since then. So they've obviously changed it slightly since then. So I thought, he paid the price for, maybe being who he is on that day. But anyway, look, I haven't had an issue with his discipline all year, and that game we started really well. We were flying, and like I said, it was an unfortunate moment, and Kuti paid the price for that. But I haven't had an issue with him since I've been here. If historically, it was different, then it wasn't under my watch, and he's been outstanding for us this year. I mean, I knew he was a fantastic player, but working with him every day, seeing how competitive he is, how much he wants to win everything he does, and then his qualities as a footballer. I think he's a brilliant centre back, but also an outstanding person, and really happy to have him.
Just sticking with Christian, on Sunday, obviously, he was popping up in some quite unusual positions, including for his goal. How much of that is at half-time you saying to him, you go where you want, and how much is him just deciding in the moment, this is the thing for me to do?
Yeah, well, it's not about sort of telling them you go where you want, but it's not unusual for us. So we've had, we kind of set up a system where, whether your fullbacks, centre backs, midfielders, wingers, if you're in the flow of play and you feel like you can make an impact, then then the system and the structure is there to support that. So it's not the first time he's done it. In fact, He did it against Chelsea when we played them. I mean, he did the same thing. So he's done it quite a few times this year. But again, it's just about the moments, and you know, he's one that, as I said, he's a little bit more sort of. He's got that self-belief to not second-guess those kind of moments, whereas others maybe are still in that phase of not really being sure whether they should, you know, take the initiative. But again, that's just growth for some of them. But you know, Kuti, you know, he wants to impact games of football, and we try and set up a structure where all of them can do that.
Just with James as well, do you, when you see a player who obviously, you know, is hitting such heights and, you know, he's not so much, do you proactively seek a player out to kind of speak to them and lift their confidence, or is it kind of more subtle than that?
No. You know, as I said, I'm about building an environment here that hopefully allows players and everyone involved to come in every day and push themselves to be the best they can be. The reality of it is there's no magic words or magic sort of solutions to any problems or challenges you have. I've always felt you work hard, be the best you can be, try and get the support you need and perform. You know, unless there's an issue there or somebody needs to seek me out. I mean, I always look at how they're training, and if their training is where it should be, then they have no issues with me.
And that's the interesting thing you said there about Christian being one of the guys who has the belief to really, you know, take advantage of the fact there is that freedom. Is that something, when you said about getting a bit more of Christian into the other players, is that one of the things that players feel confident enough to say, I am going to, if I see it, I'm going to go and take up this position?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. But like I said, you can't teach that. That's just experience and like I said, growth as people as much as footballers. And you can't expect, or rarely can you expect that players in his first year of the Premier League or has just joined this club or we've changed the way we play to be fully embraced. But there have been moments this year where all of them have done it, I think. But Christian's further advanced, obviously. I mean, he's got 5 goals this year, and you know, he hit the post from a set piece on the weekend as well. So, you know, we could add a couple of goals on the day. So, you know, he's one that has been a real catalyst for me, because when you have a few in the group, and we've got 2 or 3 who embrace it, but also have the self-belief to really supercharge it, and then that drags everyone else along, and I'm sure we'll get impact from the rest of the guys from that.
Going back to George to finish this section, please.
Hi, Ange. You've spoken a lot about set pieces today, and
I haven't, but I've been asked a lot about it.
we haven't actually had much chance to speak to Vicari about it in the mixed zone or after games, but I wondered kind of generally how he feels about it. Is he sort of frustrated, or does he not feel it's his kind of issue and it's something the team need to address?
No, I think he's seeing it as a challenge, and again, it's something that I'm struggling with. Again, I watched Champions League last night. There was a couple of times they went in on the keeper and it was a foul straight away. So I don't know. It's a weird one for me. And we've tried to get clarity on it, and I don't think there is clarity on it. But it's just a challenge for him to overcome, and he's determined to do that. And I know he will, because again, I know his mentality of not kind of looking for excuses, but finding a solution through that, and he'll do that.
And I just want to talk to you about the midfield. I mean, I remember at one stage of the season talking about how it was a great problem to have. You had so many options. Feels like it's become a bit of a problem, sort of selection dilemma. I mean, you've tried a few combinations in there. Is that an area in the summer that you feel like you're going to need to bring new midfielders in?
No, I mean, look, in terms of the summer, like I said, I think I said maybe 3 months ago, we already know what we need to do, so nothing's really changed in terms of that. But again, in terms of the midfield, it's just really difficult, because, like I said, we don't have a series of games. We haven't been able to sort of, give guys, game time on a regular basis to kind of get them all to a level. So they've kind of all been, stop-start sort of appearances, and we haven't had a lot of fluency in there. But at the same time, I think, all of them have contributed in a different way this year. We've had to rely on all of them, because we've had some issues and absences in that area. But again, we haven't had the cohesion, apart from earlier in the season where, again, we were very settled. that we need in that area. But that's probably been across the board. But I think at different stages they've all contributed.
Okay, we'll end the broadcast section there. Move on to the embargoed section starting at 10:30 p.m. Dave.